Billy Chapman never had to buy a drink in Horsham St Faith, partly because he was good company, partly because he was razor sharp at cards, but mainly because of the silent, knowing respect this whole community had for what he'd lived through. Sent off to war at 18, he was shot in Singapore and captured by the Japanese. He spent 3.5 years in a prisoner of war camp, surviving torture and back-breaking work on the Burma Railway and the bridge on the River Kwai. 12,000 Allied prisoners died. Billy survived.
He said that his strength got him through. He was taken half an hour at a time, to an hour at a time, to a day at a time. If he survived them, he would know he would live to the next day. Obviously, beatings and torture was rife. He was also tied up with barbed wire for reasons I don't know why, for 30 hours and made to stand out in all weathers. He had fags burnt out on him, and if he moved, he was then punched.
Tributes have flooded in for Billy after he died aged 96 on Saturday, passing away peacefully at home in the village he'd lived in and loved for his whole life. After the war, haunted by the horrors he'd witnessed, he returned here to rebuild his life. He met his wife of 55 years, Audrey, and worked as a postman for 3 decades, cycling more than 50 miles every day to do his rounds, as he'd never held a driving licence. Uncle Billy was quite simply a legend of the village, and now his family are calling on the public to give him a hero send-off.
I think Dad deserves an incredible send-off, to be quite honest. He lived in the village all his life, postman, the war. He's outlived everybody else who was a Far East prisoner within quite a few mile radius, I would imagine. I'd like to see St Faith's church full, to see the legend what was Billy Chapman.
Billy managed to adapt back into civilian life, but the memories and scars of the Second World War and his time with the 6th Royal Norfolk Regiment stayed with him. Just a couple of years ago, when he went to hospital with back pain, an X-ray revealed the cause, a bullet which had been lodged in his lower back for some 70 years.
If you spoke to him, he's not a hero or anything like that. He didn't go into burning buildings to save lives or anything, but he got through being a Japanese prisoner of war where thousands upon thousands of people didn't. He came home, and I think that says a lot about his strength.
Billy's funeral will take place on September the 7th, and the coffin will be taken on a procession through the village, passing all his favourite drinking spots. He'll be laid to rest with a packet of cigarettes and a bottle of good whisky, one of the last requests of a man who was one of Norfolk's longest surviving prisoners of war and one of its greatest characters. Rob Setchell, Mustard TV, Horsham St Faith.